Uh, you have already forced big financial institutions to cough up $140 million in refunds on junk fees, mostly on overdraft charges. And now the CFPB is taking on credit card late fees. Now, nobody picks a credit card because they know how much the company will charge if you're 2 hours late getting your payment.
Now the SSA has just announced a new change that could affect thousands of beneficiaries. There are actually many new items that were added to the bipartisan infrastructure bill that can financially help the American people. And this is great news, folks, because we might expect to see a fourth stimulus check in the coming days. So you want to be sure to stay until the end of this video to find out more information on the fourth stimulus check. So, against the wishes of progressive Democrats, Nancy Pelosi brought the bipartisan infrastructure package to a vote in the House of Representatives.
We're talking about privatizing Social Security. So what we have got to do as a nation is, first of all, to understand Social Security is not going broke. Social Security has $2.8 trillion in the trust fund, can pay out every benefit owed for the next 19 years. But that's not good enough. What we need to do is expand Social Security benefits because people can't make it on $11,000, $12,000, $13,000 a year. And we have to extend the solvency of Social Security a lot longer than 19 years. What do? Well, we do what's obvious, what I think most Americans know we should do. You're making $118,000 a year. She's making $5 million a year. Right now, you're both paying the same amount into the Social Security Trust Fund. At a time of massive income and wealth inequality in America, where the rich are becoming much richer and the middle class is disappearing, it is totally appropriate to say to people who have a whole lot of money, guess what, you're going to have to contribute more into Social Security. What we do is start at $250,000. So people making more than $250,000 will pay the same percentage of their incomes into the Social Security Trust Fund as people making $40,000 or $50,000. You do that, you extend the life of Social Security to the year 2065, and you expand benefits. Second thing our legislation does is I've heard some of my Republican colleagues
saying that they wanted to see the report from the Congressional Budget Office on possible deficit implications. And so far, the fourth round of stimulus checks has been confirmed. For a specific group of people, a $1,400 stimulus check could be coming your way from the federal government, everybody. Parents who had a child in 2021 are eligible for another stimulus payment in 2022. After the baby is born, parents can receive the additional $1,400 after filing the tax return in 2022. Any single parent earning up to $75,000 annually, or couples making up to $150,000 are eligible to receive the check. After the baby is born, parents can receive additional $1,400 after filing the tax return in 2022. Any single parent earning up to $75,000 annually, or couples making up to $150,000 are eligible to receive the check. Of course, there are still two child tax credit payments set to arrive for Americans on November 15th and December 15th. Right now, the payments are scheduled to end at the end of 2021. Multiple reports indicate that Democrats are fighting to keep the expanded child tax credit payments coming at least next year, or even make it permanently refundable. That would mean that some of the poorest families in America will still be able to get some money. And although the Social Security tax rate hasn't changed since 1990, the amount of one's earnings that are subject to Social Security tax changes from year to year. The amount liable to Social Security tax is capped at $142,800. Now, in order to receive the Social Security payments, in order to receive Social Security retirement benefits, a worker must earn 40 credits. The SSA used the average of the 35 highest earning years as part of the computation. Years not worked count as zero. According to Fox News, Lindsey Graham backs Trump over McConnell on $2,000 stimulus checks. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina backed Trump's call for $2,000 stimulus checks on Friday after the Senate Majority Leader and other Senate Republicans blocked a last-ditch bid for larger direct payments in the latest relief package. Trump and lawmakers on both sides of the political aisle called on the Senate to approve $2,000 direct payments, up from the $600 said to be dispersed beginning this week. But Mitch McConnell and other Republicans scuttled efforts for a standalone vote before the current session of Congress ends. Everybody tell me in the comments down below, do you think that we should get a third stimulus check of $2,000? I personally believe that will go a long way for the thousands of hardworking American people that need help now. If you agree with me and support a third stimulus check of $2,000? Then leave a comment down below saying I agree. Now let's get this video to 5,000 likes, everyone. If you support more stimulus checks.
Path about creating a path to liquidity, which subsequently creates a path to demand for people at the lower end of the economic spectrum.
Print money to do a $4 trillion.
He introduced a bill earlier this week that would tie any vote on $2,000 checks to a package that included a repeal of Section 230.
Tax cut over 20 years, but we can't print enough money to help the American people. This is a good bill. I salute my chairman, Richie Neal, and I hope every Democrat and every Republican will vote for it. And I yield back.
Gentleman from Virginia yields back. The gentleman from Massachusetts reserved. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield 1 minute. Gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock.
Gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let's get this straight. The small shopkeeper who's lost.
McConnell doubled down on his stance on Friday, while blocking last-minute attempts to call a standalone vote on the checks. Mitch McConnell argued that the package outlined by prominent Democrats would essentially be socialism for rich people.
And the suffering caused by these lockdowns, and that is to end them. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Texas reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me yield 1 minute to the gentlelady from Texas, Congresswoman Jackson Lee.
The gentlelady from Texas is recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the gentleman and the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee for his distinguished leadership. I thank our speaker for her persistent leadership and all of the Democratic members and Republican members who understand what this legislation is. It is a survival cash payment for Americans making under a certain amount, which means they're on the survival pathway. Maybe they haven't spoken to the constituents of, I believe, probably 90% of the members of this Congress who have said they are on the edge and they're about to go over.
But Lindsey Graham pushed back on Mitch McConnell. He showed his support for Trump and said going from $600 to $2,000 doesn't make you a socialist. The president kept fighting for the American people who are suffering, insist on a standalone vote. The Senate's Republican leadership drew the president's ire after the upper chamber voted to overturn Trump's veto on the National Defense Authorization Act.
Americans could get enough to survive. I am supporting this. I ask my friends and colleagues on both sides of the aisles, recognize that when you are privileged to stand in a place like this, where the constitutional fathers gave us the opportunity
Gentlewoman's time has expired.
To lead this government, stand for the American people. I support the Cash Act because it is survival for Americans.
The gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
I yield myself 30 seconds.
The gentleman's recognized.
I would point out to my colleague that nothing in this bill